Making headlines tonight, the Barbados economy continues to expand while its debt is on a downward trajectory. Barbadians are being advised to be extremely vigilant this Christmas as it relates to their security. Legendary calypsonian Singing Francine has passed. And in sports, several French players isolated in their rooms ahead of Sunday's World Cup final.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome to CBC NewsNight. I'm Wendy Burke. We do apologize for the late start of our news this evening. The recent decision by the High Court, which struck down laws on serious indecency and buggery, has resulted in lots of discussion across the country from the LGBTQ community, the church, and even those within the legal fraternity. Our Crystal Hoyt spoke to the specialist in constitutional and public law, attorney Senator Gregory Nichols. Crystal Hoyt joins us with that story.
Thanks. Good evening. There's a clarification regarding this case. The fact is that the court has struck down 2 sections of this legislation. However, the legislation has not been repealed as reported. Prominent attorney at law Gregory Nichols differentiates between the two.
There's a difference between the mechanics in striking down a law and repealing a law. The courts can strike down any law passed by Parliament or any law that is part of the framework of the statutes of Barbados. The act of repealing is a parliamentary act where Parliament goes and says we're going to replace that act with an entirely new piece of legislation or take it out of the whole context of the laws of Barbados altogether.
But he added that it being struck down in court was simply no surprise, as it has been done in Antigua and St. Kitts and Nevis just this year.
One can be really surprised that the courts have struck down the buggery law under Section 9 of the Sexual Offences Act, because one can have seen for a long time that it was on a collision course with the principles under which the Constitution are interpreted, giving dignity to fundamental rights and freedoms under the Constitution. Consensual acts or sexual acts between consenting adults in the privacy of their own home cannot be a situation in which the state would prioritize as needing to criminalize.
And while Nichols has no issue with buggery being removed from Barbados' constitution, he is awaiting the order from the court.
While I have a challenge with understanding how the act of serious indecency as it relates, particularly to minors, could be part of that process.
He's referring to Section 12, subsection 2 of the Sexual Offences Act, which reads a person who commits an act of serious indecency with or towards a child under the age of 16 or incites the child under that age to such an act with him or another is guilty of an offence and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 15 years. The implications of this being struck down is that those charged of offences under Sections 9, but more importantly 12.2, cannot be prosecuted. So the primary question is, what are the state's options?
Well, the options for the state are to accept the ruling of the court or to appeal the decision handed down by the court and let the higher courts, the Court of Appeal, and then on to the CCJ as the final court to make a determination as to whether the judge was right or wrong in the whole exercise. The state can also apply to the Court of Appeal for a stay so that persons who are likely to be charged or facing charges right now, the status quo would kind of stay as it is. The government wouldn't press ahead until they get a final ruling on the matter. So you can apply for a stay so that the effect of the law is not necessarily expunged from the books as of the date of the ruling of the court, but it would survive so long as the final appellate court makes a determination on the matter.
The Attorney General of Barbados did express similar concerns with parts of Section 12, and he is awaiting the perfected order and the written decision before considering options. Back to you.
Thank you, Crystal. Barbados' economy continues to recover, expanding by 10.1% for the first 9 months of 2022. The update was provided in a ministerial statement on the Government of Barbados' mid-year review report, April to September 2022. It was delivered by Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn, in the lower house. According to him, the resurgence of tourism activity has contributed significantly to the development.
While conditions on the international market remain turbulent, prospects for the upcoming tourist winter season remain strong, and the sector is expected to contribute to growth going into 2023. Outside of the tourism sector, increased domestic demand has also stimulated economic growth in the wholesale, retail, business, and other services sectors. Manufacturing has also benefited from heightened domestic activity and increased exports to the region. The increase in costs and quantity of imports, along with the downward revaluation of the investment portfolio due to rising interest rates, has placed additional pressure on international reserves.
Minister Strawn says in spite of the unprecedented challenges, government has maintained a broad range of social protection measures. They were introduced to assist Barbadian families and provide some relief to help consumers cope with the rising cost of living.
Some of these measures include $8.9 million dedicated to maintaining the Household Survival Program, which provides $600 per month cash to support vulnerable families affected by the economic fallout from the pandemic. The capping of VAT on gasoline and diesel sales, which has reduced the amount consumers paid by some $12.6 million. The removal of VAT on certain personal critical care items to the tune of $5.8 million. The capping of freight costs for the purpose of calculating customs duties, resulting in savings for businesses and individuals of $18.52 million.
It was further revealed by Mrs. Strawn that Barbados' debt is on a downward trajectory as the economy continues to grow.
It should be obvious, sir, even to a Class 1 pupil, that $13.8 billion, sir, today is $4.2 billion less than the $18 billion, sir, in March of 2018. Nevertheless, there are some amongst us that will have you and the public believe otherwise.
Local agriculture officials intend to ramp up biosecurity measures in light of the latest reports that African swine fever continues to spread across the globe, and it is difficult to track the number of cases. Agriculture Minister Indar Ware made the disclosure in the Lower House this morning as he spoke on the Animal Health and Veterinary Public Health Bill 2022. He says the intensification of action is geared at preventing the disease from reaching our shores.
The latest report that I got from my senior veterinary officer suggests to me that we now have to ramp up again our biosecurity measures to make sure that we do not run the risk of getting someone either illegally bringing pork products from one of those jurisdictions that can contaminate or spread the disease here in Barbados and pose a serious risk to our biosecurity, our biodiversity. And then equally, we also then have to continue the measures to set up the proper labs that we need to make sure that we can do the testing. We've done some trial testing, some PCR tests on making sure that we have the equipment that is suitable for what is required.
The Agriculture Minister also provided an update and explanation about bans on certain poultry products currently in place to stave off bird flu.
Whilst it is true that we had to put a ban on poultry products coming out of the United Kingdom because they have a situation which is slightly different from the US in that the United Kingdom, you're talking about one space, and therefore what impacts one farm in the United Kingdom can easily spread to other farms. In the United States of America, and I've been asked about this, I use this opportunity now to explain because these are very serious matters. In the United States of America, it is not the same because you're talking about from state to state to state. And therefore, you may have an outbreak of bird flu in one state, but it has not yet spread to the other states, so we don't have to do any banning or take any severe action at this point in time.
The Calypso fraternity in Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados and the Caribbean is mourning the loss of Singing Francine. She passed away early this morning. Singing Francine, real name Francine Edwards, was born in Barbados but lived most of her life in Trinidad. She is known for numerous well-known Christmas songs, including Parang Parang and her hard-hitting social commentaries. Francine was a staple at calypso tents both in Trinidad and Barbados. She was crowned Calypso Queen in 1972, 1973 and 1974. And the tributes have been pouring in for Singing Francine. Former calypsonian and Minister of Culture, now Government Senator John King, says it is a major loss.
First, let me send condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Singing Francine. She has been an inspiration to all of us, not just the women in Calypso in Barbados, but to calypsonians in general. And she will be sorely missed. May she rest in peace.
Meanwhile, perennial Pickety Crop finalist and former regional female monarch Crystal Cummins Beckles-Holder says through her music she paved the way for many females in the calypso arena.
Sharing the stage with Singing Francine as a member of the Cape Shepherd All-Stars Calypso tent is a memory I hold dear, as she imparted knowledge of stagecraft and performance on all those present. One of my favorites, Runaway, which was cleverly written, is irrelevant in today's society as women still grapple with beast domestic violence. A trailblazer. Singing Francine was truly a legend whose music transcends generations. She will be missed.
Barbadians are being told to be very vigilant and security conscious this Yuletide season. The advice from criminologist Kim Ramsey following a robbery at Wilson Hill in St. John in which a woman's car was stolen. Police reports indicate that the woman was entering her vehicle around 6:15 p.m. last night when she was approached by two men, one of whom was armed with a gun. The men took her handbag, cell phone and car. She was not harmed. Ms. Ramsey says while the Christmas period is always one for heightened possibilities of the criminal element, Barbadians should be even more alert this year because of the economic aftershocks resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic.
There were a lot of people who would have lost jobs. And we have to be cognizant of that because any country, any economy is going through structural adjustments or tough economic measures. One of the fallouts is an increase in crime, especially crimes of opportunity, property crimes, even violent crimes. It's documented, it's well documented. So, armed with this knowledge, I think that the best things that Barbadians should generally do is to be more cognizant of this and be more vigilant.
The criminologist says Barbadians must remember the basics like being careful with cash and being vigilant when they leave home.
We're not seeing some actual robberies on the streets and people carjacking, doing carjackings and so on. So what I would basically advise persons to do is, travel on more well-lit roads. Be careful of where you're traveling at night. If you see something suspicious, call the police or turn around and go to the nearest police station. Always alert the police. Activity like that, but more importantly, be very careful of the roads.
The Queen Elizabeth Hospital is now on day 4 of the cybersecurity incident, and Executive Chairman Juliet Bino-Sutherland says they're now able to shift the focus beyond containment of the threat to restoring connectivity.
Our IT department, under the leadership of MIST, with support from local and international cyber security experts, have been working in parallel streams to move this process along as quickly as we possibly can. We will be able to advise on timelines for returning to full operations on Monday, December 19th, 2022. In the interim, our teams delivering clinical and diagnostic services continue to respond to the challenges, and we will be notifying the public of a series of expected changes we are making in the pharmacy department, medical records, and outpatients.
Paving will soon be completed on the roads in Shuri Village, St. Andrew, following 4 months of rehabilitative road and drainage construction in the area. The work was conducted under the Scotland District Road and Bridge Rehabilitation Project, which is funded by the Exim Bank of China. The China National Complete Plant Import and Export Corporation Limited is responsible for executing the project on the ground. Local contractor CO Williams Construction Limited was utilized to carry out this section of work, which commenced late August. Approximately 108 roads and 15 bridges in the Scotland District will be rehabilitated under the project. At least one secondary school in Barbados is reporting success in its efforts to get a handle on the issue of bullying among students. It's the St. George Secondary School. This comes after the Supreme Counseling and Personal Development Agency undertook an extensive anti-bullying program at the school. Speaking before a packed auditorium at the St. George School, Chief Executive Officer of Supreme Counseling Sean Clark stressed that their latest survey reflected a double-digit reduction in bullying. He made the remarks as they reintroduced an anti-bullying program as they look to target new students of the school.
St. George Secondary School have declined bullying by 11.3%. You guys can clap for yourselves for that. Now, in all the schools that we have the OVS bullying prevention program, this is the only school that have seen a decline in bullying in double digits, and that is an achievement. I want you guys to continue working. I want you guys to continue being each other's friend. I want you guys, if you see something, say something. Don't get into this thing that it is not my business.
Mr. Clark noted that it was his intention to see the numbers reduced even further. He wants to see the discipline demonstrated at the school reflected across all schools as well as out in public. The Corrigan Parish School has paid tribute to one of its former students by renaming one of its gardens after him. CBC's Shane Jones has that story.
Our tribute to our history, reflections of glory and flame.
Some of the students could not contain their grief as the St. Peter institution immortalized the memory of Adrian Headley, who passed away a few months ago after suffering an asthma attack. The green space dedicated to the former student who died at just 18 years old is now called the Adrian Omari Headley Memorial Garden. School officials say it will be a reminder of one of Adrian's strongest qualities, giving without expecting anything in return. The initiative was created by Adrian's schoolmates who approached agriculture science teacher Arlene Paul Kelman with the idea.
We thought it fitting that this morning we would plant some sunflower plants that the agricultural science club, the seeds that were germinated by them, and they potted the plants, and they wanted this morning to plant these sunflowers in memory of Adrian as well. So when you see next term the plants are growing tall and the lovely sunflowers we expect to be growing, you will remember that this was done in memory of Adrian.
Music was one of Adrian's passions, as he was a budding DJ going by the name of Small Truck. Principal Sonja Goodrich says Adrian was the embodiment of school spirit, and the garden ensures he is never forgotten.
To know that we are renaming the garden that he would have helped to plant. Many of you remember the story. He came on Saturday mornings while waiting for his woodwork class and got all of the preparation done. And I trust that the students as a whole would ensure that the garden always looks good.
Adrian's parents said they are sure he would be happy.
I know it has been difficult for you just as much as it has been for us. But we thank you and we continue to pray for all of you as well. Thank you very much.
Again, I'd like to thank you all. We appreciate everything you all done. Blessings flow. Thanks for thank everybody. Thanks.
Adrian Headley was laid to rest on September 15th. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Educator Dr. Dan Carter has penned a new book chronicling the contributions of the vestry system to education in Barbados. The book, titled The Role of the Vestry System in the Early Education in Barbados, was launched by the author at the Golden Sands Hotel in Christchurch. Dr. Carter says the vestry system, which constituted the first form of local government in Barbados around 1629, and each parish had the vestry. He says the strong links between education and the church were evident then when it was made mandatory in 1680 for the rector to be chairman of the vestry.
Was the rector of the parish, and he was a very dominant figure at that time. The rector thereafter became a powerful force in the administration of the church and the vestry within his parish. It must be remembered that each parish had its particular vestry. Now, one of the earliest statutes of the vestries, dated August 1656, declared that all the freeholders of every parish within this island shall repair to their respective churches every year successively on the second Monday in January, and there, by their free voices, choose 16 persons to be the vestrymen of their parish for the ensuing year.
Meanwhile, Minister of Home Affairs and Information Wilfred Abrams cautioned the country stands to lose a lot of what made Barbados through a lack of knowledge. He says he is impressed by Dr. Carter's work as he is one of the most researched.
The vestry system can only be written about by somebody who had some clue as to what it was and bothered themselves to research it. With the passing of the generations, in another 20 years, had you not written this book, probably no one will remember about the vestry system. In another 40 years, the entire concept of the vestry system would have been lost. Nobody would even go to the archives to look for it because they would not even know that it existed. So it is critical, Dan, that people such as yourself keep researching these things and putting them down. Because once your book is done and it's in circulation and it's in the library and it's in the archives, right, then it forms a part of the historical narrative of Barbados that might otherwise be lost.
The Masonic community in Barbados continues to honor its tenets of integrity, friendship, respect, and charity. Earlier this week, Victoria Lodge, as part of its commitment to those ideals, donated $1,500 to 3 cancer support agencies in Barbados. Deputy District Grandmaster Orvin Sandiford says it's been almost 10 years of charitable giving and impacting communities.
This is Victoria's annual Christmas charitable donation. The lodge, along with other lodges in Barbados, make periodic contributions to various charities or persons who are in need. And this year, the Cancer Society, Cancer Support Services, and the Cancer Screening Program have been identified for that contribution from Victoria Lodge.
He added that too many people were being diagnosed too late with cancer, especially men.
There's a significant need for cancer monitoring in Barbados. We are a men's organization, so we are concerned about men being treated appropriately and timely for any prostate issues, and we hope that this would assist in that regard. So we encourage men in particular to come and get screened.
Sports time now with Mark Seal.
Christchurch Foundation are the double-crowned NSC Secondary Schools volleyball champions after they won the boys and girls titles at the Wildy Gym. The girls were taken the distance by Barbados Community College, while the boys were easy winners over St. Michael's School. Let's start with the boys' final, with Foundation already winning the first set 25-15. Tajara Reed with the serve, straight off St. Michael in difficulties, and Jaden Batson spikes the overset for the point. The very next serve, and Reed gets the ace, as SMS boys figured it was going long and didn't even attempt to play it. Third serve in a row for Reed, and this time SMS handles it somewhat. It's a free ball. And Reed in turn provides the short set for Caden Hoyt, who crashes it off the blocks for another Foundation point. Eventually, St. Michael would get the side out, but also on their serve, Foundation were back to dominate. The back set for Batson, who hits it off the blocks. SMS Cougars, though, did have their odd moment in the spotlight. Not on offense, but on defense. They gave up the free ball. This usually meant they'd paid for it. But this time, Justin Allen came up with the one-on-one block on Encoya Williams-Bailey as the attempts at saving the ball by Foundation went into the stands. The end, though, was drawing near. Foundation back on serve. Andrew Thomas with a pass that went over the net, and Hoyt met it with a thunderous right-hand boom. Set and match point. And fittingly, it's an ace, as Foundation took the second set 25-7 and the championship 2-0. Now to the girls' final. Foundation with the serve against BCC. The Erie girls meekly give up a free ball. And like the boys, Foundation girls made them pay for it. Serena Edwards, the southpaw, powers up and spikes the winner. BCC would bounce back. Foundation again with the serve, but this time Deanna Waldron, in what seemed to be a broken play, still found the right touch to hit the open court as BCC took the first set 25-20. The second set was virtually one-way traffic for Foundation as they evened up the contest. At first, it seemed as if Desani Waith had scored a winner with her cross-court spike, but she was well dug by Ludovine Larcher. There was some back-and-forth play between the two sides before Waldron hit her attempted spike into the net, as Foundation won the second set 25-16 to even the score at 1-1. Fast forward to set and match point. The serve by BCC. Pass by Sierra Wayside. The back set for Waith, and her spike flies off the blocks for the point. Foundation winning the second set 15-12 and the game 2-1.
Time for a look at business now. Once the relevant standards to accompany legislation are implemented, Barbados could be raking in significant sums from fisheries or agricultural exports. That's the view of Minister of State in the Foreign Trade and Business Development, Sandra Husbands. In her contribution to the Animal Health and Veterinary Public Health Bill, she presented some figures from neighboring countries to illustrate the revenue earning possibilities.
Guyana is able to export shrimp and fish, live animals into the EU. And they have seen a 138% increase in those exports. Barbados wants to be a part of that. Suriname exports close to $12.3 million in shrimp, 3.3 million in fish, a 50% increase into the EU. Barbados wants to be a part of that. Little St. Kitts, tiny little island, the Emerald Isle, that claims to look and feel a little bit like Barbados, but smaller than we are. They're actually exporting $1 million worth of tuna to the EU. We cannot export half pound.
A number of Barbadians will soon find jobs in the retail pharmaceutical sector. Administration Manager at iMart Stores, Patricia Eastman, told the Business Report the company would be opening its 7th outlet at the Villages St. George, and the staff recruitment process is set to begin soon.
We are in the process of opening, hopefully by the ending of January, early February. All the infrastructure in there. We will possibly start interviewing and hiring persons within the next couple of weeks. So by the end of January, early February, you should see us in the villages at St. George.
That's news. Good night.
Thanks for visiting us. To get more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.